Welcome to a brand new episode of Charm City Beat Live. It is draft night eve. We're back on the camera talking Ravens. NFL draft is here, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, what do you want to talk about?
How about some Ravens draft? I mean, the big night on tap, and who the Ravens take to enter their Ravens family, and who we're going to root for, who's going to buy these jerseys next year, and who's going to be a difference maker, and who's going to be the next in a long line of Ravens greats. I mean, that's what pumps me up the most about the NFL draft. It's the unknown and all the prep work that goes into it, all the mock drafts, all the talk, and the draft hits, and afterwards it's dissecting every pick, and especially in the first round, there's nothing better in the first round in the NFL, especially when your team is
Yep.
picking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's EDC season. This is how many years what are we at? Like 5 years of EDC now? This
2019.
is yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Time flies. But we know how he gets down. We've seen just his product. We've had a few years behind him. We've seen, his draft strategy. How excited? How many we have 9 draft picks, is it?
As of now.
Come on. As of now. Because we've seen him do some crazy shit in the draft before. Wouldn't surprise me. Ah, man. But no, definitely excited. It's draft night. This is like my favorite week, at least in the off season. Nothing's better. Again, you're getting new toys. It's Christmas Eve. You're getting new toys, man. Before we do get in the draft, let's talk a little bit. Rashad Bateman will be on this team at the end of this draft. I saw him as a potential trade piece.
A lot of people did.
I look at it like this. This is the guy that they coveted, what is it, 2021? They took him and first round draft pick. And you're a team that's starving for wide receivers. You're letting Odell Beckham Jr. walk. You Aguilar's another year older. Zay Flowers is really good, but that's really it outside, those guys. And so it's like, do you let Bateman walk? And if you let Bateman walk, are you letting Bateman walk so you can draft a wide receiver in the first round again or the second round? And you have a guy here that's building chemistry that he has his drops, but he also has his fantastic catches.
Yeah.
All the intangibles are all there. Maybe another year in the system with Lamar Jackson is what he needs. And I feel like they got a guy that wants to be around for a couple. I think it's just, to me, it was the best option in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And they go out and get a wide receiver and trade him later. Maybe that still happens, but I feel like the wide receiver market isn't really what it was even last year. And so I think they found a good way to keep a guy that in-house that already has that rapport with Lamar, and he'll be a legit number two now with Beckham gone. I think that's what you like to see.
Speaking of, mind you, he is the first wide receiver to get a second contract, first round wide receiver to get a second contract with the Ravens.
It's absolutely fucking mind blowing.
Essentially, it's someone I saw it pointed. It's almost basically now we have him on an extended rookie deal. Because I think people are saying it's 3 years for 15, which is basically, I think, $5 million a year. Cheaper than what his fifth year option is going to be.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that anymore. And now he's got hopefully a full off season healthy. Remember, he's ever since he got here, he's kind of, he got here, then he got hurt. Second year, started off good, got hurt. Last year, he was healthy, but Lamar never seemed to want to throw to him, or when he did, he was getting sacked. Because there's been many things that have shown he was one of the most open wide receivers most times. He just never could get the ball because he was usually probably like the third option. With Zay, Beckham, any tight end.
80 or above. No, it's definitely a good look for me. Again, I think the Ravens ahead of this draft, they're in a very unique situation. Most of the people we lost were older guys or people that we just didn't need that pay, that needed an opportunity somewhere else. We are literally one of the most complete teams in the NFL, in my opinion. I think so. We got Lamar locked up. we could use a running back, but we got Derrick Henry now. I think a lot of holes that we had, it's going to make this draft a little bit more interesting, but there is some gaping holes that we're going to get into. But I think personally, just going into the draft, offensive line is my biggest concern. I don't know. I don't think Ronnie Stanley has another 2 seasons in him in Baltimore at all. It's going to be a big hole to fill.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the. Go, Ross. I'm sorry. Go.
I agree, but just looking at it, even with the Bateman exception, that wide receiver room is thin. It's kind of top heavy with Zay, and if you want to put Bateman, if you read Twitter X, whatever, that's half the team, half the people in there will, half the people don't want him there. It's been the weirdest thing. He's been the most hated and most defended player recently. Lamar's like, oh, good, let's take that. But after those two, then we got, like I said, an older Aguilar. We got Kylan Wallace, who finally showed up, and then, yeah. But O-line, yeah, like I said, we did lose a tackle.
Like I said, I hate to be the boring one of the group. I feel like lineman is the boring pick. It's not the sexy one. It's not the receiver. It's not, the edge rusher, which we could probably use. Give or take what Odafe and what's his name does. But yeah, I don't know. I just think O-line, personally, I like Mims out of Georgia.
Yeah.
He's definitely, he has 2 national championship titles. You don't win a national championship without having somebody covering your ass, and you also don't win Super Bowls for the same reason. So ask Joe Burrow.
Yeah, you give Lamar Jackson $260 million. You need to protect the man. And obviously you saw last year he was running for his life a lot more than he probably should have been because of the flux of the O-line. I think the Ravens would be ecstatic if Mims falls to them at 30. Overall, I think there's going to be several offensive linemen that they'd be willing to take if they fall that far. I think the other possibility is that they try to fill the other hole on this team that's glittering to me, and that's defensive back, cornerback specifically. I think Marlon Humphrey is on the wrong end of 30. Same edge. He's basically the same version. He is Ronnie Stanley of the defense. So it's a guy that when he's there, he can play, but he's not playing to the level that he could be. He makes some good plays, but he also takes plays off, I think, and he gets hurt. I think can't trust him anymore. And so I think Stevens obviously was a really great development last year. But if they can go out and get a guy like there's a guy from Alabama who's decent. Clemson has a really good corner. If they're there at 30, I think maybe they go that direction, especially if those offensive linemen aren't on the board, because it's a really, really, really strong offensive lineman class. But I think to the point where the first half is going to be loaded with them. And so we'll see what the Ravens do.
Cross.
No, yeah, like I said, I've seen linemen go. Like I said, cornerback definitely. Like I said, it's. I agree. We need to protect our $260 million investment, and like I said, we did lose a tackle. We did lose half our offensive line.
Yeah.
It's nothing necessarily wrong with boring when you're picking at 30.
Means you did something good the previous year.
And I think it's been wild. The last 3 years, last year was the first year in several years that they only had one first-round pick. The years before that, they took Bateman and Owe in the first round. So you took Need and you took Owe, who I think was more of a let's have fun with this draft pick and get a guy that we can develop. And I think the jury's out on Owe still. But then the next year, Linderbaum and Hamilton, you're talking about 2 guys. Linderbaum's obviously that boring pick that Gerald just said, but this is the guy that's going to be manning the center of this offensive line. He's already maybe the best center in football.
Yeah.
He's like the Adley Rushman of this team. And then to go out and get a Hamilton, if you're staying with the Orioles, that's a Gunnar Henderson pick. That's a guy that can do it all. Yeah. That might be the best safety in the NFL. And so you put those together, and that's one of the best maybe Ravens draft classes of all time when the dust settles. The 2 guys that you probably want to re-sign are probably going to be Ravens for life, probably might be in the Ring of Honor, potentially Hall of Fame careers just based on how the trajectory is starting to look already. And so the the Ravens have been able to do both the boring and the exciting the last few years. Zay Flowers was fun last year. That was a great need. I'm curious if the Ravens go boring or if they go excitement this year.
Yeah. Again, at 30, you have tons of wiggle room, tons of, you can do virtually whatever. And again, this team will keep you guessing. You know, something I wanted to ask is something that been on my mind outside of Jonathan Ogden, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed. Jesus Christ, just those names. Wow, all Hall of Famers, and Lamar Jackson. They're unavailable. Who is your favorite Ravens draft pick?
You go first, Ross.
Well, as much as I just said I don't like Bourne, and Jordan just gushed over him, it's Linderbaum. I mean, you get basically a Hall of Fame center
Yeah,
barrel rolls people. I mean, Christ, I don't think he gave up anything last year.
yeah.
I mean, he's definitely got to be up there.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question for you, Ross. Would you rather have Lindenbaum or Marshall Yonda?
Whoo!
That's a good one too, especially because if Linderbaum can take turn into a Marshall Yonda, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. It wasn't 07. That was the Ben Grubbs year. Wow. And they probably the better offensive lineman was taken in the third round, which is nuts to me. Yeah. For me, it's Kyle Hamilton, I think, just because this is a guy that, and I love how we're sticking with recent guys. Memory, it's hilarious, but what have you done for me lately type of thing. But like this is the guy that pre-draft, he was a top 5 pick. Ravens waited patiently, he fell to them, and he is like the perfect safety for this version of the NFL. He's like a mix of Troy Polamalu and Ed Reed and Dawkins and these different guys, and he just can do it all. And you saw it last year. I think as early as this year, he might be Defensive Player of the Year just based on how well he played last year and in the system. So that's one guy for me. And if we're going old school, I mean, I really like Terrell Suggs. I mean,
you took my pick.
Sorry, you go on.
No, you're good. I almost put him on the do not pick list.
He
is fair.
To be honest,
close. I based it on with no Hall of Famers or Lamar.
Okay. You know what? So yeah, in that case, Yonda and Suggs probably deserve to not be mentioned.
Yeah,
that's true. Like I said, it's basically Hall of Fame or Lamar were off limits.
No, personally, I like Zay.
Yeah,
Zay gives me. Essentially, to me, I think Zay has the potential in the ceiling to be a Tyreek Hill. He's got the quickness, and I think his route running is just going to improve as time goes on. He has good hands. He's essentially what we wanted Hollywood Brown to be.
He was working with Zay this offseason. He was working with Tyreek.
We love to see it. That true number one receiver, and I think we have it in Zay. Again, Bateman is the first receiver that we've ever re-signed first-round pick. Like, that's insane. Because you think about some of the names, we have had Torrey Smith come through here, guys like that. But no, I think Zay Flowers could potentially be a face of the wide receiver core in the NFL at some point.
But I'll say this for Zay, the biggest game of his career, obviously AFC Championship game. That's where he sort of had his biggest mistakes. I mean, you had that late that was upsetting when it happened because of all the, but then dropped the go ahead with the high touchdown goal line. But like that was the AFC Championship game. Like that's the stage that it happened. It wasn't like week 4. So like he's seen the bright lights. He's played really well for the most part under the bright lights. And so I love the fact that he can build on that, and he's building on super late playoff experience versus like if he played for like the Browns or something. Like that's what I love about Zay Flowers is that he's not willing to shy away from the big moment. And so many Ravens receivers have shied away from the big moment.
Pretty much. He's got cojones. We'll say that. He's not afraid. Thinking about this, and we've talked about this a little bit over the last couple of weeks. And Ross in mock drafts apparently loves doing this, but trading in the first round, either trading up or trading out. Do we see any movement? Do you guys see any movement EDC this year?
You go, Ross, since you're very passionate about
You
this
are
whole
very passionate
rating
about
thing.
Most of the ones that we're doing were there off me trades, and I trade back a little bit. But as I mentioned, unlike Ozzy, EDC has typically stayed in the first round.
that. Mm-hmm.
Only time that I saw when I look back that he traded his own pick was his first draft in 2019, where he only went down from 22 to 25.
Mm.
Other than that, he traded another time.
That was
It wasn't
Hayden
his pick.
Hurst.
It was,
Ew.
no, that remember Hurst was Ozzy. Hurst was
Oh, yes.
18.
It's true.
Dude, up and down, up
He
and down,
traded
up and
down.
down.
He traded with Philly down to get Bateman. Next year, he traded was the one we traded for Hollywood, got the pick, then traded down again and got Linderbaugh. Other than that, he usually stays, or he'll jump back into the first round like he did for Oway. I mean, so if you follow that pattern, no. But as I also mentioned, if a top wide receiver corner maybe starts to slip, as Jordan pointed out, corner is an option.
Yeah.
As they like to say, best player available over need.
Yep.
But
EDC has always been one to just take the best player. And I don't think he likes to deal his picks either. He's been passionately protective of his picks. I think at 30, you're in a really unique position where you might be able to trade back 5 or 10 picks and still get a guy you really covet. Um, and get another second round pick and maybe stockpile in what is looking like a relatively deep draft, 2 or 3 really good, strong guys that are just outside that first round that we're probably going to slip anyway. So the Ravens feel like they can get their guy and get another pick. I can see them doing it. I hate when that happens because we're going at least it's pick 30 and it's not like pick 8.
Yeah.
So like we're gonna be waiting up. So either way, like that's the end of the draft. So it's like we're still enjoying a lot of stuff. I remember in 2018, we thought the draft was over. We were getting ready to interview Hurst, and then it's like, guys, what? The Ravens have traded back into the fucking first
Yeah.
round. Lamar Jackson, everyone just like lost their effing minds, which is the beauty of the NFL draft. And that could also happen. They could pick and then trade that. I don't even know, but I just don't. I think to Ross's point, I don't see Eric DeCosta doing too much craziness.
Yeah.
With not a lot of draft.
Well, speaking of what you're saying, we traded back. What if a quarterback needy team happens to see a quarterback drop and is like, say like the Patriots or whatever that don't take a quarterback for some reason and go, hey, we can get Marvin Harrison Jr. right here. And then they come back around, hey, Baltimore, we'll give you the third pick and the second pick in the second round and some other things if we want to
Like
get
a
a
fifth-round
quarterback
pick or something, yeah.
with the fifth-year option attached. And then, like you said, we're picking 34. Still probably get one of the tackles.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like I said, it's going to depend on how the board goes.
I'm gonna put my casual fan hat on for a second. That would suck. Waiting all that time for it. Oh my god, and nothing happened.
Yeah,
That would
people guess our pick's going to be about 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because even though, as someone on
Friday
X pointed out, why the first 5 picks take so long, I mentioned because ESPN and the networks told their talking heads they need to talk about these people.
That's true. Got to create a storyline. I'll never forget the 2020 draft, and I felt like everybody that got drafted had some really sad backstory. I remember saying, this is like peak COVID. We're all in our houses. Even Roger Goodell's in his fucking office at home, drinking, getting wasted. And
I think what a big part of that was because they had a lot of time to do a lot of stories, and they needed to they couldn't show the draft room, and everything was different. So they were like every single person had a story, and unfortunately, a lot of these players just come from like broken homes and bad. It's
like Joe Burrow had like the most normal upbringing. It was just like him and his parents in their like living room. It's just like, hey, nothing crazy here. Except for his knee. Oops. Oh my gosh, no. Yeah, I don't know. Trying to think here. Yeah, I mean, honestly, personally, outside of offensive line, outside of defensive back, the other position I could see us shooting for running back. We gotta get a running back. We gotta get something, right?
At what point though? Like because when you look at a guy like Mitchell and they brought him in as an undrafted free agent, I don't think they're going. I mean, I do think they might because you need a running back. You only have one. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer, so you don't need like a big one.
Yeah.
But I think they could spend like one of their sevens or a sixth on a guy, and like Frank Gore Jr. is sitting in the draft. I mean, that's a curious pick for me.
He's got great genetics. He's got longevity. Yeah, if he's there, get it. Go for it.
I don't know how what happened with him at the combine. I just recently saw kind of concerns me. He does like 12 on the bench press and basically goes, "Nah, I'm done here."
That's confidence. I like that. That's
No,
confidence. You guys,
hold on. No.
I've seen it
12?
enough.
Only 12 as Frank Gore Jr. I need more than 12 for Frank Gore Jr.
He said, "You can watch me run for touchdowns instead of watching me lift fucking weights." That's what he said there.
Do you guys want to feel old?
I'm
This draft has Marvin Harrison Jr., Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and Frank Gore Jr.
Oh my god!
All of which are going to be drafted.
Also, Jerry Rice's son.
Oh, Jerry Rice Jr. Is he in this draft?
Jesus.
God damn.
Whatever his first name is from USC. Yeah, he's
What?
And the Steelers.
Remember, we've already been through this. I mean, this is like the second wave of juniors that we're watching get drafted.
Yeah, and it's
we're
really
at that
fucking
point.
crazy.
Me and Gerald were talking about this. Me and Gerald were talking about this when we were going to the Oriole game. We're like, we have coaches are younger than us. We're at that point. We're lowering our age when we play video games.
And what's funny is baseball, you have the same thing. You have Vlad Guerrero Jr., you've got Jackson Holiday, you've got Bichette's kid and BGO's kid. Fuck them.
It's insane. It's literally insane. It's
I have these guys' baseball cards.
Yeah, like again, I used to play with these dudes in Madden 05, like their dads, you know? It's like, what
Jeremiah
the hell?
Trotter was an animal for the Eagles.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely one of those sobering moments just looking through all these kids that are out. I mean, Joey Porter Jr. was last year, and it's like, geez, how many times I have to hear his dad's name? And now it's like, oh wow, you're on the same fucking team. That's crazy. I'm waiting for Tom Brady's son. When Tom Brady's son gets to the NFL, that's when I'm like, nope, I'm done. I'm old.
I mean, there's gonna be a Manning soon.
Yeah,
Obviously,
Archie Manning.
Mitchell's kid is the son of an NFL player.
Then we're gonna have. I imagine Shedeur Sanders is gonna be in the NFL at some point.
That's true. Good call.
Oh, God.
Interesting development.
Which apparently we can draft them. They're the Sanders kids are allowed to play for the Ravens according to Dion. Basically, anyone he played for is allowed to.
Do I want to be Lamar's backup?
Here's a question: do the Ravens draft Lamar's backup because they let a lot of good? They let Huntley walk
in the fifth? Sure, I can see it. Yeah, there's athletic kids out there. I can see it.
Somewhere later. I mean, unless they really like Cunningham and Josh Johnson for the 80th time.
I honestly think we're at backup mode. Get somebody of quality back there. Make the offseason a little bit fun.
To be fair, if we didn't lose Lamar, it doesn't probably matter who's playing.
Oh, that's true. I mean, you want somebody that you don't have to change the playbook for. I'll tell you that. That was the beautiful thing about Huntley. As crazy as that shit was, we didn't have to change really anything in the playbook whatsoever. Playing style was identical. A couple of steps behind, but again, what do you expect from a backup?
Well, like I said, Cunningham basically came from the same system at Louisville.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man. Any last thoughts though? Draft night is tomorrow night. It's time to get ready for it. But any last thoughts though, guys?
I think that my number one prediction, I think the Ravens ultimately do what Ross said and they trade back like 3 picks. It's going to piss everybody off and they're going to literally pick 1-1 in the first round, in the second round. 1-1, 2-1, something like that.
Wow.
Lead us off, pick again at the end of the second, and then bag another fourth round pick or something. And we'll get like a B plus for the first round.
Because we're gonna be doing this shit live tomorrow night. Like we're gonna
Yeah.
be doing videos, covering all the picks. That shit would piss me off if we did not cover a Ravens pick tomorrow. I swear to God.
Yeah. I think what we should do in that moment is look at who's going to be there on day 2,
Yeah.
predict them in the moment, and talk about like how much better the team will be because they added another mid-round pick and the Ravens crush the mid-rounds. They've been doing it for years. It's like their bread and butter. The Marshall Yandas of the world have come out of that round.
Ray
And I think
Rice.
that's where the Ravens have really, I mean, we'll see what Eric DeCosta does. But I'd rather him move up because that's super exciting. It's like the Ravens have traded with the Texans. Yes. But...
Ross.
No, like I said, I've done where he's moved back. I could see him move up, and like I said, I think he even said the one year where he had like 7 fourth-round picks. You're like, yeah, I think we had too many draft picks that year. When you get too many players, eventually some just can't make the team. I mean, sometimes I think he's like, I like draft picks, but let's condense some of this a little bit. As you pointed out, Gerald, we're a relatively complete team. I mean, there's not many holes except on the offensive line that need starters.
Yeah.
A few backups there and / starters. Running back, wide receiver, cornerback, but.
And I'll say this.
I think quality over quantity sometimes is better.
And they went out and they got the mountain a few years ago. They got that they traded for that one guy. They have guys who I think they can trust to step up. And I think they also recognize that Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry can make even the most porous of offensive lines look better than they actually are.
Yeah.
And so I think that they're not worried that they don't get that first round tackle because if they can get a guy like a Nate Wiggins from Clemson that can play cornerback or, Kool-Aid McKinstry, who I would love to have that's a great name, Kool-Aid. But like if they can get one of those two corners, I think they would rather fill up, shore up that defense in an AFC North that now features Russell Wilson, Burrow, and the Browns,
Deshaun Watson, that guy.
Hodge King. Like I think the Ravens aren't. I mean, you got to have defensive backs. It will allow your defensive players to do more.
But in that same division, you have TJ Watt. You have Myles Garrett, the Hutchinson guy that totally fucked us over at that Bengals game.
He's pissed off too because he asked for a trade.
Yeah.
Didn't get it.
Yeah. Like, so again, that's why I'm going team boring this year. I'm hoping for it. I'm hoping for it because I'd rather have Lamar upright on 2 feet than on the ground, and God forbid.
To both your points, when you're as loaded as the Ravens are and you're in this window, boring is the way to go.
Yeah. Why not? We're good. We're good. Again.
My last box draft, I went boring.
Yeah. Well, that does it for our show. We got a lot coming for you throughout this weekend. It's Christmas in April, people. Get excited. It's here. We will be doing a lot of coverage of the draft over the next couple of days. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Turn those notifications on. And go Ravens.